Maternal mortality, it's a huge global tragedy. But here's the thing. For most cases, it is completely preventable. So today, we're going to break down a simple plan that's designed to save mothers' lives, and then we're going to dig into the really tough question. Why does it so often fail?
Okay, I want to start with a number. And this number, well, it should really stop all of us in our tracks. That number is 800. According to the World Health Organization, that's how many women die every single day from complications during pregnancy and childbirth.
And get this isn't a problem that's spread out evenly across the globe. Not even close. A whopping 99% of these deaths, they happen in low-income countries. So, you see, this isn't just a health crisis. It's a crisis of inequality, a crisis of resources, and a crisis of access.
But here's what's so crucial to understand, maybe the most important part of all of this. The vast majority of these deaths, they are preventable. The problem usually isn't that we don't have the medical know-how. Nope. It often comes down to a failure in something much, much more basic. Just planning.
The good news is there's a pretty straightforward plan designed to fight this exact problem. It's basically a proactive checklist for mothers, their families, and even their whole communities. And it's called BPCR. So what is BPCR? It stands for Birth Preparedness and Complication Readiness. Look, put simply, it's all about planning ahead. It helps families get ready for a normal, healthy birth, but it also makes them think about what to do if an emergency pops up. It's literally about thinking ahead to save a life. So what is this plan actually designed to fight against? Well, it targets what experts call the 3 delays. Think of these as the 3 major roadblocks that can stand between a mother and the care she desperately needs. First, there's the delay in even deciding to seek help. Second, the delay in physically getting to a hospital. And third, the delay in receiving good care once she finally gets there. Okay, so we've got the what and the why of BCPR. But what does this plan actually, look like in the real world? What are we talking about here? And that's the real power of this BPCR plan. It's so practical. This isn't some high-level abstract theory, right? It's a real deal checklist. It forces you to answer simple but absolutely vital questions, like where are you planning to give birth? Who's going to be your skilled attendant? Where's the closest emergency facility? How are you going to get there if you need to? Have you lined up a blood donor just in case? See, it takes this vague idea of being prepared and turns it into concrete, life-saving actions. All right, so we've got this plan. It's effective, it saves lives, it should be a no-brainer. But there's this massive gap between the plan on paper and what's actually happening on the ground. To really get a handle on this disconnect, we're going to zoom in on one country in particular, Nigeria. And this gap is just stark. For example, the plan says, identify a health facility for emergencies. Simple enough, right? But in one study from Ethiopia, a country facing very similar challenges, only 8.1% of pregnant women had actually done that. Just think about that. The plan is there, but for whatever reason, it's just not being followed. And this is not an isolated incident, not by a long shot. A survey over in India found a very similar story. More than half of the mothers they talked to, we're talking 52.2%, were considered less prepared for birth. So this just goes to show you this challenge of getting people to actually use the plan, it's a widespread problem. Okay, let's bring our focus back to Nigeria, because the numbers there are, wow, they're staggering. A full 62% of all births in the country happen at home, or they're attended by people who aren't properly trained. Let that sink in. That's almost 2 out of every 3 mothers giving birth completely outside the safety of the healthcare system. And this quote, this one's from a study in northern Nigeria, and it's just heartbreaking. It found that while over 70% of men made really detailed plans for their baby's naming ceremony, less than a third of them made any plans for the mother's healthcare or for the delivery itself. I mean, it's such a stark example of a cultural disconnect where priorities can get tragically misplaced. So to really understand what's going on here, we have to zoom in even closer. We need to go from the country level down to a specific community. We're going to look at the city of Onitsha in Nigeria's Anambra state. This is a place where researchers really tried to get to the absolute root of the problem. And what did they find? Well, they found that in a place like Onitsha, it's never just one thing. It's this complex web of cultural beliefs, a woman's socioeconomic status, her level of education. All these things mix together to create these powerful barriers that stop women from getting the knowledge they need to prepare. This complexity, it led the researchers in Onitsha to ask three really crucial questions. And the first one was pretty basic. How many women here even know that this kind of birth preparedness plan exists? The second question follows naturally from that. Okay, of the women who know about it, how many are actually doing it? Are they implementing these plans? And then, the big one, the most important question of all, why not? What are the specific on-the-ground challenges that are holding them back? Understanding the answers to that question, that is the absolute key to making any real difference. Now, you might be thinking, okay, why are we drilling down so deep? Why focus on one hospital in one city? It's a fair question. Why does this kind of super local research even matter on a global scale? It matters because, well, this is how real change actually happens. Research like this gives policymakers the evidence they need to stop just guessing. Instead of rolling out some generic one-size-fits-all program, they can create targeted solutions that tackle the actual barriers, whether the problem is cost or transportation or specific cultural beliefs, the real issues that women in that specific community are facing. So this all leaves us with one final crucial question. We have the plan. We know it can save lives. But a plan on a piece of paper? That's not enough. The real work, the hard work, is in understanding and then dismantling the local barriers that stop that plan from becoming a reality. The challenge now for everyone from policymakers to community leaders is to listen to the evidence and start building the bridges that will finally turn all this knowledge into actual survival for every mother, everywhere.